Katie here with a video that I would like to entitle Putting the Past Behind Me. And the past that I'm going to put behind me is the past 8 years of my life, and I'm putting it out there as a reminder to myself and as a welcome for others. Um, because over the past dealing with the ex that I'm going to talk about, um, we've had a lot of mutual friends, we've had a lot of off and on things, and there are some friends that I'm still friends with that are mutual friends, and I want them to know that, you know, if he ever hurts you in the way that I'm going to outline and tell of the past and come out with how he hurt me, then I want you to know my arms are open for you to come and talk to me. Um, so, many of you who have followed me for years and know me for years, even though I've changed my video blog about 3 or 4 times and changed other various social media, but those of you who know me probably know the ex that I'm going to be talking about. Now, I'm not going to blast him all over the internet and say his full name or say even his full first name. Uh, it's funny, his initial also happens to be his nickname, even though he doesn't spell it like the initial, he spells it kind of like the bird, Jay for Jay. But I'm going to outline to you because it's not only how he hurt me, but it's how I hurt myself by continuing to let him hurt me because I take full responsibility for that as well. The whole reason that we even met in the first place was because I was in a celebrity crush obsession that had gone past little cutesy musician crush into psycho stalker land and to the point where another ex of mine who I'll initial D, I was basically using him to get to the object of my obsession, and that didn't work either. Um, I, at the time, because I was, batshit crazy, was associating with other batshit crazy people. My ex roommate, for one, and another person that my ex roommate and I were mutual friends with that I'm no longer speaking to. Now, this other person was Jay's girlfriend at the time and knew him like they had known each other ever since they were 12, and she was what? Um, oh yeah, the 19 at the time that, so they had known each other a good 7 years. And she thought that, with, she thought with his skill set and his, I guess, expertise at different things about research and development, well, maybe not development, but like researching different things, and she initially kind of signed him on to help me to like get in contact because at the time I thought, well, the only way that I'm going to end this obsession is if I have some kind of physical contact or over the phone or go to a concert or have an interview or do something. And he was initially going to, he was waiting on a laptop from Department of Rehab, and he was going to go online and research the record company and how to get a hold of the band manager. Well, that fell through, so he went for the next best approach. Um, because we all were into exploring alternative spiritual means, psychic gifts, open mindedness to other beliefs that there are other dimensions and other spirits and angels and fairies and elves and dwarves and dragons and trolls and you name it, we believed in it. And I still do believe in it, but to a different extent that's not so, well, I'll I'll highlight that later. So then so we so knowing that I was into the whole alternative spiritual and like alternative medicine type of beliefs. I mean, he was always coming up with goofy, fancy names for things. He called it a virtual reality overkill, but it was basically a very, very deep hypnosis to where my mind was in another reality, and in that other reality, I got to do the things like go to a concert and get up on stage and sing with this musician that would bring me closure. And so, in essence, I'll have to say the one good thing that Jay ever did for me in all my 8 years of knowing him was to help to end that obsession. I'm grateful for that, and I take that positive with me. But here is where the negative shit starts. Other friend, who was his girlfriend at the time, well, during the weekend of her birthday, which I subsequently ruined with my psychotic obsessiveness, um, that's when, Jay and I had met in person and we were starting to get closer. And, you know, now I had only known him for like 2 months at this time. And I would say like 3 or 4 months into our friendship, he breaks up. Well, actually, his girlfriend breaks up with him. She calls me up and says, I am sick and tired of Jay. I know how desperate you are to have a boyfriend, so here, you can have him. I said, Yay! And he said, What? So then started the mistreatment. Said he was, well, there was mistreatment on my part because I didn't have a roommate and couldn't manage the apartment I was living in, and I said, You're gonna come up to Sacramento, you're gonna fuck me, and you're gonna live with me, point blank. So I was psycho in that regard. He said, Well, I'll at least come up to visit. Got sick the first time around, and then lied like the next 3 or 4 times around, I think, about visiting. One of those times, which I had actually dragged my dad to the Sacramento airport looking for this guy, and he never showed up. Called and said there was a bomb threat, which there wasn't. And so he starts at a living skills center down in his neck of the woods, Southern California. And while he's still with me, he falls in love with this day student. And on my birthday, calls and says, My friend wants to wish you a happy birthday. And I knew better. I said, If you're with her, why haven't you broken up with me? You know, why are you two timing like this? It took him until January. This was in October, this happened of 2007. It took him until January 2008 to break up with me. And of course, we said, Well, we're going to break up, but we'll remain just friends. Around February or March, he starts alluding to this girl named Ashley, so I figure, okay, fine, whatever. May, I end up going to that same Living Skills Center, which he recommended. Instead of doing the smart thing and getting actual skills that I needed, only went there because of Jay, to be closer, to have less distance, that kind of thing. So again, my fuck up. And of course, when I get there and I say that I know Jay, Everyone's asking how he and his girlfriend are, and I was flabbergasted. I said, last time I checked, we were trying to get back together, and I'm his girlfriend. And then I saw him for his birthday, Memorial Day weekend. And though he's totally blind and he can't see, boy, did his mom ever see me. And by me, she only saw this half of me. The half with the paralysis. And she saw my weight. And she saw, well, I did have irresponsible, chore keeping and bad hygiene at the time, so yeah, bad impression there as well. But even though that improved, she never saw past that. And he never let her. Now, this is probably going to have to be a two-part series because YouTube only allows 15-minute videos, and I'm burning up the minutes here, so I'll get on. So I go to this Living Skills Center, and we are off and on and off and on and off and on to the point where near the end of my tenure there, I think I stayed about I want to say 5 months. But I was starting to damage property, to bang my head against the wall. I was going psycho. I was jumping up and down on chairs. I was, nearly 5150'd for trying to stalk his ass. He was. I mean, yes, I have my own mental illness, and I don't want to place blame and say he was driving me crazy, but he was bringing out the worst in me. He really was. And so then I stayed about 2 more years in the LA area. And in those 2 years, for part of that time, I tried to go to the same college that he was going to. Only problem was that I couldn't afford the paratransit, which was like a half-hour zip over to the college each way. So I was sacrificing my time, my energy, my everything to go 3 hours on a bus each way. 6 to 8 hours of my day spent just in transit. Plus the time at the college, I failed those classes. I didn't have time to get homework done. About the only thing I succeeded in was choir. And at the end of that, started getting major anxiety attacks about even going on the buses. And this was because he was doing the thing where, even though we were together, he was looking for single women that were prettier and more sighted than I was. Yeah. So, I think, and go figure, he lured me again with the let's just be friends stuff. So then, I can't remember the second half of 2010 that well. Oh, wait, I do remember one thing. The other thing I'm grateful for, he was there when I had a major food poisoning attack and felt like I was almost going to die. He was at least civil and respectable during that. So I will give him that. I'm going to continue in part 2, and I'll see you over on that video.